Welcome, everybody, to the Palatka City Commission meeting, special call workshop, actually. We're going to call this meeting to order. Ms. Krantz.
Thank you so much. To Commissioners Tammy McCaskill, Justin Campbell, Will Jones. Oops, sorry. We have an echo. That's me. That's me. Much apologies. You're hereby notified a special called workshop. It was your special called workshop of the Palatka City Commission is hereby called to be held on the following dates at City Hall, 201 North 2nd Street, Palatka, Florida 32177. The purpose of the workshop is to discuss the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, June 7th and June 20th. And here we are, July 12th, City Commission budget workshop at 3:30. Next one is August 9th. At 3:30, following that, August 29th at 3:30. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Signed, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Krantz. Is Pastor Mulberry zooming? No. Commissioner Forum, could you please give the invocation?
You would.
A brief one, and Commissioner Jones, the pledge of
Aye.
allegiance.
Fire has closed. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Most of all, thank you for your unconditional love. Dear God, as we go through our budget cycle here, please allow for us to make the best decision that's going to help our city continue to move forward and provide the necessary services that our citizens will be satisfactory. Be satisfactory to our citizens. We ask these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Krantz.
Of course. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
President Chambers.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present,
We
thank
have a
you.
quorum in the chambers.
Thank you. We're going to open the floor up to public comments. Is there anybody here for public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. And on to 3, the discussion of the FY 2024-25 budget. Ms. Cotty, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mayor Carrera. We're going to go, the overall objectives of this meeting is to have our I'm thinking IT, have our department heads go through and provide you with presentations, fielding all of the feedback that we've gotten from the one-on-one budget meetings. But I'd like to start off with Ms. Carty. Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and all that are in attendance, department heads, city manager. So the most important thing to start out is knowing that this is not about the budget being balanced at this juncture. That is more about, letting you understand the various needs that are being projected and presented by the department heads, and with the inclusion of anything that we understood of the commissioners' initiatives, thoughts, and comments. It's important. If you were, Ms. France, if you could go all the way down to the very last page of this big old budget thing, please, report, just so that the commissioners can get a feel, that very last page. Yeah. So with this particular version, as of July 8th, we have expenditures included in this budget of 78,683,658, and revenues are at 76,508,386. So we have a budget that is not in balance because, of course, the revenues have not yet been completed, that process, but it does at least delineate the needs that the department heads have projected. The next thing to be aware of is these new proposed new positions. That's that next page, please. Right. So this is just the salaries themselves. And this is what we understand thus far. There is a minor change
Hold on.
that,
Just a question.
oh, I'm sorry.
Whenever you refer to those pages, can you please say page 76 of the budget or the packet, or so that we can kind of keep along?
I feel
Kind of
you.
difficult.
Yes, ma'am, I will. So what we were discussing previously was page 76. And so now we're going to page 78. Okay, thank you. And at this moment, it reflects total direct costs of 705,000 for really 12 positions. The reason why it's 12 is because the TIF position is broken out into the 3 districts. There has been a change like this morning that we figured out, and that's pretty much dealing with the city clerk area where the cost is going to be 11,000 more at this point. However, there is an offset to that of about 29,000, just to have some understanding. And if we were to go to page 79, that is a summary sheet of, okay, 79 is not that. It's the commissioners just showing you some detail about the results of the conversations with the one-on-one with the commissioners. Page 79. I know you were trying to make it long.
This decision unit summary, is that what we're looking at?
Now on page
Well-
129,
Thank you.
that's where I found.
No, but go, I like where you went, to page 79, which is the commissioners to allow them to understand that we did take the information that they gave us and where we could include it in the budget, that lets you have an understanding of what department the initiative is included in. And that's on page 79 here.
It's 129, 129.
Okay, so I'm just reading.
If I may, I'll call out the page numbers from the book.
Fine, I had looked it up, yeah, but.
But in the book, it's 120.
Okay, so in the book it's 129. So if you wanted, as commissioners, wanted to have an understanding of what did we do, we being the city manager, myself, and even as we met the one-on-one with department heads, anything that we could understand that you were bringing to the forefront, I'm letting you understand where it is included, the initiative, and what department is included in. Okay? And so now we can go to the decision units, and what page number is that?
79. 77. Huh? I got 79. Starting on 77.
81.
Okay,
I'll take
Starts
it.
on 80.
so the decision unit summary. I'll wait until you have the
It's right.
decision unit summary.
On page,
It starts on 80.
thank you.
Summary,
Mine said 79.
79.
Okay,
Well, 79 is a summary, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, so
decision
the
unit summary is
summary
79.
is on 79. The rest, the individuals are on start on 80.
okay. So I just want to just give you heads up. All right, so these are the decision units that we have put together as of July 8th, okay? And so it's in order alphabetically. Also trying to give you an idea what the decision unit is for. The city clerk position is the one that I just gave you an
I
updated,
was gonna say, excuse me, so this is the updated summary sheet, right? Okay.
the one I just
That's
gave you.
taken out.
And there's not a major changes, but I just wanted to give it to you because the city clerk may bring it up in her presentation. So it's the very first line. And instead of it saying 32,000, it now says 44,000. Okay,
What was the change? Because the legislative aid,
it's now being combined. And so now it's reflected as a combined position, which she'll explain in her presentation. And then we also reduced where your section said legislative aid, that's been reduced.
Excuse me, Ms. Commissioner McCaskill has a question.
Okay,
And just to keep us flowing easily, I see that the one that was included in our binder said for the line item 1, city clerk new position was 32,000. And then the one that you gave us said that you said there was a change, and you did let us know, and it says 44,000. And I do notice that the summary at the bottom didn't change. So can you kind of guide us and let us know what other number or line item changed so that we can kind of make sure the numbers match?
so there's no other changes that I'm aware of for the decision unit. And you're correct that, okay, so mine says, oh, so the formula didn't work. So I just want, my intent today was to just kind of give you heads up that when the city clerk come up and start speaking, that her position now has that deputy clerk in there. That's what I was
But
trying to do.
I just want to make sure that.
That's it. Nothing else changed.
That the numbers at the bottom also did.
Right.
But the numbers at the top did.
So the formula is not working at the
Okay, yes,
bottom.
ma'am.
Mhm.
So if I can add to, the idea behind, and we discussed this in the one-on-one, says the position that was previously there is for the legislative aid is our recommendation is to combine that with the request for a records clerk. And the result would be a deputy clerk position that would do both the records, the legislative, and also be part of the succession planning for the clerk's office. And so you'll see an increase in the position for deputy clerk, but you'll also see a decrease in the decision unit for the records position because those are combined.
Okay.
It-
So,
Is
go ahead.
that a separate line? I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Is that a separate line on there? Because it's a $12,000 difference that I just saw, so
Right.
is this somewhere? Thank you.
That's 12,000. I mean, we don't have, do you feel like you want
Right,
to
it's-
print it out again? Would that change?
No, I mean, it's up to them. I'm just
All
writing
right.
mine down.
I'm-
Good,
I
Madam
got
Mayor.
you.
Okay.
Commissioner, part of the process that we have here at the city is that a department head asks for something. The department head will then meet with the city manager. The city manager will put the kind of their thoughts to what the department head is thinking, and then comes up together with something to present to the commission. My initial thought had been that I wanted a records clerk, or maybe someone that would eventually grow into a deputy clerk. That's why I put a $32,000 number there to begin with. However, after speaking with the city manager, he said, hey, why don't the city clerk's office continue to do the legislative tasks for the commission, because you like doing that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just there's not enough time in the day. And then same thing goes with me and me trying to find a work-life balance at this time. He said, why not we create a deputy clerk position? It makes more sense from a perspective of longevity for your department. So when we applied the salary study to that, the salary study actually has a minimum range of 44,000 for the deputy clerk position. So that's how you get a higher number than what I had initially put there.
And I'm rightfully so, but I do kind of want to reprint it. Because where I'm going, Sunny, you did a very good job, but the thing is, it doesn't match the number at the bottom. It's different from, so if you can get us a new one, if it doesn't take that long, just so we can all be on the same page and making sure that we're making, okay.
Commissioner Borum, did you have a question? before we moved on? Okay, thank you.
I actually have a statement. And it was done in one-on-ones and I mentioned it, so I want to make sure I mention it here amongst the commissioners. When we have a department of 2, we have one person supervising one person. I think that, and Sonny just talked about it, when we start talking about the pay grades. So we're gonna name this person a deputy clerk. So along with that, the salary and the benefits goes up, okay? For someone that's just gonna be filing, I mean, really, I would like to see the job description that you have. It just says, a CSR. So a CSR that's gonna be answering the phone and filing, that's a lot of money, $44,000 a year for. I don't know how much of your work, as far as work, they're gonna be able to do or learn in that time when they actually have a full-time job to be in a legislative.
I can
Wait a
clarify.
minute. A legislative aide and a clerk, so they actually have two duties. And so, it's twofold. One is for the manager, and you can answer the second one about the job duties, but about one person supervising. You got one person to being supervised by another. I mean, that's not a department, I would say.
Okay, to clarify, the customer service role, what it's talking about in the description is the customer service role presently is a customer service / records clerk. Last year when I came before the commission, I told you that I believed that there was enough work within my office to have a customer service person and a separate records clerk. I was told combine the two. What I've found in the last year of having a combined role is that the majority of that person's time is spent answering the phone. So what I'm saying in the job, in the write-up that you see before you, is that the customer service role is really a role in and of itself. I'm fill that person's additional time with records duties because obviously the phones, they're not constantly on phone 24/7. There is some gaps in between calls, of course. And that time I'm giving them records related duties to do. I'm asking for a third position.
You're asking for a third position.
Yes.
And I wanted to add to that, typically across the state, you have the deputy and you have the clerk and the deputy clerk. And it's not really a manager of somebody. It's somebody that can step in the event that the clerk is not available. And this is not something that's unusual to have a clerk and a deputy clerk or somebody who's identified as the deputy clerk to be able to step in that role. In this case, what we're looking at is the position that was already approved for the legislative aid, along with the idea of the records clerk community CSR role and combining those two together. And the combination of those two together is a cost savings overall, instead of doing a legislative aid part-time and doing a part-time CSR records clerk. We combine them to the two of them and reduce the total cost by putting them together.
That seemed to be more efficient to me, and because the city clerk also functions as a city manager's administrative assistant. And then if the city clerk is out, the minutes for every board, every meeting, there is nobody to cover at this point yet. And that would be another function. I think that's crucial so that the business of the city continues to move on, whether Ms. Krantz is ill or whatever happens. So,
And I'm not saying not to have a succession plan. Matter of fact, I was an advocate for that. It's the matter in which it's structured, okay? So who supervises Ms. Krantz?
City manager.
Okay, so the manager also be supervising the deputy clerk.
I will.
That's the point. So you see my issue.
That she would be supervising the deputy clerk.
Yeah, you got a one person, two-person department, a supervisor and a deputy clerk.
Mhm.
I don't think that makes sense, but I just wanted to say it in this meeting because I said it in our one-on-one meeting. Secondly, because we never had a dedicated legislative aid, I think that some input should have been from the commission due to the fact of what our needs are, and what we really want done. Sonny has been doing a good job, but I think Commissioner Bourne was gonna hit on it. There's other duties and responsibilities that hadn't been being done for the commission, aside from her other duties that I think that prompt us to ask for a legislative aid. Am I right or on track or not, Commissioner?
I think Commissioner Borm, he's turning to you to clarify.
No, just that.
Well, no, I mean,
Because I
that's
didn't ask for
not to clarify, but that was something that why we even came up with the legislative aid in the beginning, because a lot of times we have a number of different things that we deal with within the community, whether it's town halls, whether it's research, whether it's when we are doing our travel, among other things. And so again, and Sunny knows this very well, when she's booking our travels and everything, it takes an average of 2 to 3 hours per commissioner. And granted, there are changes or anything along those lines that can get a heck of a lot worse. I think she was just booking one of my trips before, and I think it took about 3 to 5 hours somewhere in there to just try, and it took multiple days. Well, that was just one day, but sometimes it take multiple days. So I think with the number of things that we need as it relates to research and everything else, and it could really we needed to dedicate it in order to be able to accomplish those things. A lot of the research that we have to try and run out and do in our spare time, as it relates to visiting properties or whatever else we have to go and do or rezone, for just all the different things that we do. I don't think a lot of people understand and know what our job is, and that's 24/7.
Right.
In my opinion. So we just need, we need a dedicated,
Mhm.
person.
And when I looked at that, the fact that we had the legislative aid and there was a quest for and a need for the records, I looked at it as an opportunity to save money by combining the two, as opposed to having two independent part-time positions, by having one full-time position that was at a lower rate than the two individual pieces that would still perform the same functions that you were looking for in the legislative aid, but also be available to deal with the records and be backfill when the clerk wasn't available. I thought that was a way of optimizing the requests that were there.
I appreciate that, but I think, when you go and do things like that, you need to communicate with us first.
Well, that was why we did the one-on-ones, and we
Right.
got that feedback.
Right.
Yeah. For that proposal.
I mean, I'll do whatever, but I just know that we need whatever we're gonna need in order to serve the community better.
Mhm.
And so if you want to travel that road, just make sure that the budget can support what we need if we need to make adjustments.
Mhm. And if I remember correctly, when we did our presentation at the last budget workshop, we presented this item of the proposal for the deputy clerk, and we were told to go ahead and proceed. So that's why we incorporated it in this one.
I also think since we haven't had a legislative aid up to this point,
Mhm.
doing it this way, if there's a need indicated for full-time, then we will have to look at the budget and consider making that a standalone position. But maybe this is a way to enter into it since we haven't yet and also accomplish a couple of other goals.
I'd like to
Thanks,
mention
but
one.
yeah, that's a good point. But I think what happened when we did decided to move forward with the legislative aid, the commission wishes weren't granted and it was drug out. And so this is where we are now, and it put a lot more burden on Sunny. And again,
Mhm.
and that's where we're, I mean, that's where we
Right.
are, and we should have been had that a while back, and
Agreed.
it would have taken a lot of load off of Sunny.
Agreed. Yep.
If I can mention one last thing.
Yes.
One thing that I would just say that would be a benefit to having a deputy clerk is that we can ensure that it's someone that would be educated. If it becomes a deputy clerk, my goal would be to get them to become a certified clerk. If they're a certified clerk, then they'll be able to provide additional support to the commission because they'll have the know-how to do it. And I'll make sure that they have the know-how and the education to support the commission and however they possibly can for you guys. Whereas the legislative aid, I wouldn't know what tract to assist the manager to put them on and what education, what classes to have them take. Whereas if they run the clerk's track, I can make sure that when they go to conference or when they go to webinars and things like that, that they're taking things that would guide them to be able to better assist the commission.
Any more questions? Any further questions of Ms. Krantz? No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince.
Okay, and I don't know, I haven't really, has anybody calculated or estimated how long this process is going to take for every department? Because at some time, I think before businesses close for other businesses, a couple of us have to make phone calls. So maybe we could take a recess at 1:15 or so and then just come right back and keep moving.
Eh,
Commissioner Wong?
Thanks for that comment, but as well, I mean, we got a big budget ahead of us with a number of different presentations. Last year, we broke it up and did it in 2 sessions. So to not belabor this thing and make it long and drawn out, we might want to consider that again if you want to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So if we can just take a brief 5-minute break at 1:15 and then be right back at 20 past. But thank you. Go on, Ms. Cotton.
Okay, so basically, I was just giving a kind of overview, and I'm going to sit down and let the departmental budget presentations begin, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Bell.
So the first one
Cue that
will
up with,
be informational technology.
yes. And I believe we have the PowerPoint presentation up.
Yes. It's there.
You want to put the brand? You want me, next slide.
It'll be easy. Afternoon, Commission. Afternoon, Ms. Mayor. Brent McFadden with Inspired Technologies. My pleasure to stand before you all today. We've had a great year in IT. I want to cover some of that stuff with you all, as well as a few things that we want to kind of move towards, give you a bit of a roadmap. You can go ahead and hit it, Ms. Sunny. So this year, a couple of things that we've done. We built out the network for the Jenkins facility. That was pretty early on in the year. We also implemented EDR for antivirus. That was a very quick implementation, and we very much appreciate y'all's attention to that. We also implemented annual cybersecurity awareness training for all staff. As you all are very aware, and everybody's had to take it every year. So definitely a good thing to have. And we've also had approval and begun our implementation of new firewalls for the city, the police department, and all satellite offices that require them. That was the most recent thing. We're currently in process of scheduling that deployment. As well as we enhanced, this is kind of just a fun fact, but we put a temperature sensor in your network closet because we were having some AC issues. So we want to stay ahead of that. You go ahead and hit it, Sonny. Some goals we have for this year. They're fairly lofty, but I think that they're very important. And I want to go ahead and just start having the conversation to start us moving in this direction. Ultimately, one big goal that we have is to separate the city network architecture from the police department. This is based upon compliance requirements that are coming down the pipe and some that are already currently in play. That is what is somewhat supported by, well, it is fully supported by the firewall implementation that y'all just approved. Also, we'd like to implement multi-factor authentication for all city staff. Similar to when you log into a bank account or anything else, you get a text code. Very similar thing. These are the low-hanging fruit of cybersecurity. And a very easy implementation for us, very low cost to the city, and a very big benefit to cybersecurity stance. And we'd also like to implement our MDR stack for the police department. These things are going to be required for CGIS as well. There's a few things that we can go into detail, but I wanted to kind of keep this somewhat top level. You can go ahead, Sonny.
Can you explain to the non-technical people what your MDR?
So yes, so our MDR stack is more or less a cybersecurity stack. The compliance requirements by CGIS are, as most law enforcement, I'm sure that you guys are very aware, and I know I've been talking to Mr. Bell about it a good bit too, have increased a substantial amount over the past few years and are continuing to go in that path. It's very difficult for a lot of municipalities to keep up with this stuff, so that I definitely want to make sure that we stay ahead of it as possible. So the MDR stack would include things such as a SIEM product, So let's say an agency of law enforcement for some reason is made vulnerable for some reason, they're compromised. They're required to report logs via this new compliance. And in order to gather these logs, you have to have a tool in place or one full-time job person sitting there compiling them every day. So that's part of the stack, as well as a vulnerability assessment tool that most cybersecurity insurance is going to start requiring pretty soon. So stuff that I want us to just know it's on the horizon. I want us to just go ahead and start talking about as we go.
And MDR, if you aren't familiar with that term, is managed detection and response.
Yes, thank you. So current personnel is the same as it has been over the last few years. We have Mark Hayes, we have James Burdett and myself. And then we also have the managed services of our team back in Tallahassee, all there to support you. We don't propose any change in staffing list, but we do know that the contract for IT support will be coming up RFP in February. So it's just something that we're keeping on our radar. You can go ahead, Ms. Sunny. And then for capital, I kind of took some things because it looked like everything was lumped into the operational budget. So I took some project things and some amounts on the high end that I think it's going to take to get some of this work accomplished that are our goals for this coming year. Our proposed total is on the high end because, as we all know, technology, the market rates for that change. And also sometimes the solutions themselves, there are better solutions that come out while we're vetting a current solution. And so we want to be flexible. So ultimately, I generally plan for you guys about 8 or so computer replacements every year. The servers will be hitting end of life in the next few years. I believe it's in about 1.5 years, give or take. So we want to go ahead and start looking at getting those replaced or thinking about another solution.
When last time you replaced?
2026. Yes.
When was the last time you were replaced?
The last time they were replaced, I believe it was before my time. They've had their support renewed a number of times and now they're end of life. So they're out as far as they can be supported currently.
Thank you. Commissioner Borum?
Yes, I thought at one point when we first started with Inspire that there was a rollout plan to replace all of the hardware OSs that we had at the time and move from, I think at one point it was at Windows 7.
Yes,
Windows
sir.
7, and you move into Windows 10. Server, I think you even had server 08 and server 2010.
Yes,
So so we got 12, which is being outdated. And so we're moving into 16 and 20.
Yes, sir.
So where are we as it relates to the OSs and the hardware that we have throughout our organization? Because as you know, some of those older equipment, they pose a significant
Oh, yes.
risk.
Critical vulnerability.
And
Yes, sir.
so if we looked at a hardware inventory, if we can get that to kind of understand, okay, the replacement cycle, and then the life cycle is 3 to 5 years on these on systems. So
Yes, sir.
if we've already started that, I would like to know kind of like where are we in as it relates to when we first started into where we are now, because that was built into that first contract, I think.
Absolutely. So yes, we've done a full wash of all machines that were outdated. Everything's on at least Windows 10. All servers are compliant and up to date within support. That has been iterating over the last few years as the city can afford. If I could wave a magic wand, I'd have everything replaced immediately, but I understand things sometimes have to be slow rolled. But yes, we're fully up to date. We actually had a really big push last year to ensure that all of your servers were at least on 2016. But in the replacement here that would be allocated for next year or afterwards, we would obviously be getting to the latest and greatest to get you, as far down the road as you can. So, yes, sir. I hope I answered your question there.
I mean, I just like to just see what's in our inventory to kind of understand and
Yeah.
know when we pushing out, 20,000 a year, for replacement of, computers, and not every system, requires, that level of cost, because you don't wanna put a, you go on a tractor trailer job and you don't wanna put a tractor trailer job on you go. So I think we need to just look at, and we also deal a lot with, looking at how each and every office work. Certain things you might not need, and
Yes, sir.
you can use, things like, appliances, any appliance, a thin client or whatever else on those devices, and it's gonna produce the same thing better or faster, and you don't have the risk associated with it.
Totally agree with you. And that's what we generally try to do. The reason I say 8 computers is because that's what we've seen over the last few years that you guys generally replace. I do have a full inventory I can give you if you'd like.
Like
Absolutely.
Chromebooks, you got Chromebooks and all these things, so.
And I average, I mean, because there are computers like your SCADA machine and other things that get well beyond the average there. So I just wanted to make sure that I had everything accounted for. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am, Ms. McCaskill.
Any other questions?
Oh, just a
Commissioner?
copy of, you asked about the rollout plan, the original rollout plan, if we can get that
Right.
and kind of gauge where we are and what we need, if that's possible.
Right.
Okay.
Cause I know there was I think Matt was here, either, not Matt, but, Logan was here at the time, I think, when we first started the process. But
Okay.
she was the finance director, so we wanna see, what we currently had in that plan moving forward to make sure that we're a little bit more fiscally responsible.
Absolutely.
Any
Happy to
additional
help.
questions?
Can you speak about the MFA?
Yes, multi-factor authentication. So, it's, we don't, the main reason we're pushing for that ultimately is because of the PD. But that would be either a text message to your phone, or I think actually Microsoft's moving to an installed Microsoft app wherein you go to log into your email, it'll pop up a notification on the app, you have to accept it, and then it'll let you in your email. Now, we do these with licenses from Microsoft that prevent you from having to do it on premise as long as you're here. For a certain time frame, makes it a little bit easier to deal with. Yes.
Commissioner McCaskill?
Of course, this isn't my area of expertise. We do have a commission up here. But did I hear us at one point possibly think of talking about real share Apogee, maybe the GeoFits?
Yes,
Yes. So if this would this be the time to talk about that? Can you
Okay.
kind of elaborate on that?
we have that later in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Brett? Thank you.
Just
Oh,
only
sorry.
other question about the multi-factor piece is that, have we decided, are we gonna use, which
Yeah.
technology are you gonna use? Duo,
So we typically go to the Duo route because it's what we're familiar with, but there are some Microsoft offerings as well that you can have as a city. If, let's say, your network architecture is separate from the PD, then we can actually have a more affordable option that doesn't require a hardware dongle or anything like that unless you actually need it.
and then and from a cost factor standpoint of, if they have any token device or whatever, or could they use it on their phone? But then at the same time, now we're asking staff, to use, what would require. We got to figure that piece out in terms of, from a cost standpoint, and then privacy
records
standpoint, given, putting it on their phones and all.
Right.
So we just got to figure that piece out.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to assist. We've implemented this across a number of other organizations and run into the exact same questions. So it really just depends on how you all want to handle it.
Right.
And I'm happy to help out during that whole thing.
Commissioner McCaskill?
And this will be my last one. I'm
Oh, that's
sorry.
okay.
The kind of, help with that process, if anybody has a city issued device or, cell phone, Chrome, MacBook or whatever, that can be mandated, but they shouldn't be required to put it on any of their personal devices. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell, do you have any questions? You still there? Okay.
I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And with that, we are gonna take five exactly. Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and come right back.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, staff. Just a presentation of the budget for the fire department. You can move on, Sonny. Thank you. Back one? Yeah, there we
It's
go.
like I say, I
Yep.
want to.
So just some of the achievements this year. I've actually got about 20 pages of them, but this is some of the highlights. We received the Firehouse Subs grant for 39,000, got new extrication tools. Those allow us to actually work in water, whether it's salt water or fresh water. We can actually submerge the tools, which actually helps us with plane crashes and other vehicle accidents. We have had the budget increase approved for HMGP to replace the bay doors and windows at the K Larkin station. We've applied for the USDA grant for ladder truck and a new engine. Applied for the AFG grant for a special ops truck. Completed and hosted a social media training for the department and city. We painted the stations. Hundreds of hours of leadership training, operational training. Received the state fire marshal grant for the exhaust capture devices and much, much more. If you would like a comprehensive list, I'm happy to send it to you. Okay,
The iOS rating too was pretty significant.
yeah, the ISO, yes, ma'am.
ISO, chocolate in my mouth.
Okay, Sonny, we can move. Thank you. So for operational changes, as we talked about in the 101s, our one-on-ones, we're asking to apply for the SAFER grant to get 3 more firefighters. We know we have hundreds of new houses coming on. And we have lots of changes with our industrial partners out in the county, which we have contracts with. We need to replace the roof at the main station, the plumbing at the main station, and the bathroom at K Larkin. We're continuing to train new people in operational tactics. We have several registered in the fire academy. So we have a new hire this week, our last week started. We have one personnel coming out of the academy completed. He'll start in 2 weeks. And then we have another one that will be finishing the academy starting September. We have 2 more applicants ready to go in September as well. So if they get registered, we'll have 2 more ready. But we are only down essentially 1 firefighter at this point. We've updated our standard operating guidelines and the rules and regulations of the department. So we've started that. Those haven't been updated completely since the 90s. So we are moving through them and trying to bring things up to date. We're continuing to add leadership training and specialty training. We're building on our cancer prevention program. We're also looking into health and wellness, mostly mental health. And we're continuing to work with our local partners for training and trying to get them to grant us to help with that training and protection of their facilities. And we're applying for more grants, diminishing general fund dollars, and also trying to build community engagement programs. Thank you. So on the personnel side, currently we have 12 firefighters, 6 engineers, 3 lieutenants, 3 captains, a fire marshal, fire chief, and administrative assistant. Our contracts for service are, as you see there, Georgia Pacific, Seminole Electric, St. John's Shipbuilders, and we have a couple small local churches contiguous to the city that are in the county that ask us to make sure we respond to their needs as well. So proposed staffing, which we have in our decision units. So the first decision units was the roof at the main station. The second one was the plumbing at the main station. The third was the plumbing at K Larkin Station. And then for personnel, we're asking for a deputy chief of operations and also an administrative assistant for the fire marshal. The plan review just continues to grow as things are being developed and built here in the city. And so that he needs the help there for scheduling. We have inspections, annual inspections, BTR inspections, and also construction inspections. So this becomes a lot for him. He's also in charge of risk reduction and community engagement. So we're asking for some help there. As we move to the operating budget, as we went through in the 101s, we have just a few small changes. We're asking for about 27,000 in small changes. Adding cameras to our trucks for accidents and stuff like that. So we have also as a training tool. We have to add the extra 5,000 to our pre-employment this year because we do the full NFPA physicals. It'll drop back down to 10,000 for the next 3 years after that. We're asking for a little more in electricity as things continue to go up, a little more in building maintenance and vehicle maintenance. We continue to have tons of trouble with all of our trucks. They're staying on the road, but it's constant. We're constantly having to fix something. And then there was a couple things with uniforms and a couple $1,000s in operating. So a total of about 27,000. With the capital, I think we can go on, Sonny, to the next would be the capital. Yeah, so that adds about 300,000. That's with the plumbing and a few other things that were mentioned in the CIP. So a few hoses and nozzles, some hazmat equipment, and some other small updates. We're also in the Better Place Fund, we have the HMGP. That'll be reimbursable through FEMA once it's complete, but it is a reimbursement program. And we also have the match there. So we're waiting on that stuff to be completely approved. We've have a verbal approval on that. We're waiting on the contract. And that's about it for us. Is there any questions on any of that?
Mr. Bell?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. If you could go back and spend a little bit of time talking about the community engagement programs and the challenges that I put to you about diversifying and working to diversify the staff.
Yes, sir. So we've done everything we can. We try to go over to the colleges. We're on the A list. We advertise wherever we can. We've been talking, so we're trying to get out into the community a little more and offer that out, but the scholarship has been pretty full. We have a couple females, and we've not been too lucky on local people. Most of them are in the county so far, but they are at least in the county. We've tried to work with some here, but what we found is that we have a problem with transportation. So getting them to the college over in St. Augustine has been a problem. So even though we updated and now we're hiring them at minimum wage until they're done, they're still not able to get to the college to get the academy.
They can't drive, no, our vehicles. I think with the
I don't-
police department, we hired, people on the scholarship or the grant fund or whatever we did.
So it's one of the things the city manager and I talked about. So that was some ideas that came up, that and having some sort of stipend to help them get there. So, but we haven't worked through those details. We're beginning to look at that because that's been the issue, is getting people who they are appreciative of the help to get to school, but they can't get there. So that's a great idea to try and hire them and send them in our vehicles. But we don't really have that many extra vehicles to send them in at the fire department. But we could try and find something.
Spare city vehicle.
Yes, sir.
I think if that's a challenge, I think, to try to help people to get on and with that concentrated effort to diversify, I think that's a small thing to do because they are our employees, so.
Absolutely. And that's some of what we've been trying to think about, because that has seemed to have been our problem, is trying to get them from here to there.
I think it's important. I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Well,
Commissioner Boyle?
yes, I'm piggyback off of Commissioner Jones. I think that's super important, and I think it will help your program a lot. And so I'm friendly to, making sure that we can help grow the fire department in that regard and going above and beyond for the diversification. And I think it is.
Yeah, and
Certainly.
we're in favor of it. We would want to try and work out the insurance issue. They want to have some sort of test or something to make sure that they're qualified to drive. But once that's in place, that may help quite a bit. Because that has seemed to be the biggest problem.
Yeah, and that was one of my concerns, the insurance piece.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say that it's important to note the efforts that have been made thus far within the department, but also to be intentional about looking at those obstacles that may exist in recruiting a more diversified staff at the department, looking at ways that we can overcome some of those obstacles. And I think you've got some great suggestions in terms of vehicles, but we've also are exploring the idea of creating incentives for those people who live within the city limits to go through the academy and join the department. So um, I think there are a number of things that we can do, but first we have to be intentional about pursuing those objectives.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions of Chief Taylor? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Airport? Mr. McNair?
Good afternoon, I guess, right? You know, you guys got me all mixed up here a little bit. You'll control the slides, eh?
If you don't mind, let me close this presentation. I had to open a presentation a different way for Chief Taylor, and it appears to have frozen. So if you would just give me a moment.
Take your time.
And then if I get through that, we should be at you. There we go. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep. Again, good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. It's good to be here. If I had to give you a short comment about where we are at the airport, you know, we are progressing, we really are. So I'm a little bit over 24 months in. I would say the last 8 months or so, 9 months has been a serious tester, and we face some serious challenges. But, you know, as with all organizations that look to take it to another level, we work through it, you know. And our challenge, our primary challenge, obviously, was the tanks, our two 12,000-gallon tanks being inspected, issues being identified, and being offline for quite some time. Those tanks, the self-serve is your number one revenue source. Set aside facility rentals, you know, that's your number one source, self-serve. So as one of our achievements, you know, working with finance, other members in the organization, we were able to complete the maintenance items on the tanks. So we're back up and running. Folks that kind of left us for a period of time, you know, they are reconnecting with us, and we're rocking and rolling. So in addition, we had a number of other achievements. We actually just completed one of the largest projects of this year, which was repaving and upgrading the west side of the airport. So you come into the entryway to your right there, all of the taxi lanes, all of the fueling apron areas were rehabbed. So it's about a $1.2 million project. So completed last week or so. Excited, the customers love it. We also finally got rid of the loaner Jet A truck. You know, we've been struggling, but we got grant dollars. You know, we got a brand new truck in, and it's working flawlessly. Part of the mobile operation, I would tell you, not to digress, but shifting to a mobile service during the time where your main storage tanks were off, you know, saved us, I believe, because it only reduce your revenues by so much versus no sales. So we also initiated a very, very much needed program in our security gate and access control. I'm referencing initiated here because we started the RFP process. We'll identify a company to come in and essentially upgrade the access control ways. We got 3 primary, one off of Moody, one skydive gate, and one main entryway there next to the terminal building to the west. Going to proper key fob type technology. We adding more camera systems. I think we have 4 now, probably going up to about 16. So game changer, but looking at the level of assets we have airside, we need to protect our customers' assets, but also our assets as well. But it's also driven by the security program with the FAA 1542. Continuing on, we also were fortunate enough to secure dollars from FDOT to bring in emergency generators. One, replacing the one at the main terminal building. Two, adding a emergency generator to the fuel former self-serve. So it's just not hurricanes that's knocking off power around here. You know, there's many other things. So essentially, one of the drivers for us being so fortunate to get these dollars, we support more of a regional responder as well, not just the local folk, you know, but the state. If they're moving around the state, they want to identify different airports to come in, service, and keep it moving, help others throughout the state. We completed a wildlife hazard site assessment. So for the non-outdoor folks, essentially that is bringing a professional in to assess the wildlife hazards at the airport. We do have some, most airports do. In this case, birds, coyotes, and you know, every once in a while you may get into deer or something like that, but this is required to set up a larger plan, you know, so this support the plan that we're going to have in place going down the road. And one unique one on the achievement list here was the abandoned aircraft auction, which if you never experienced it, you need to find one to go to. Because it can get very interesting. Thank you, City Attorney, for your assistance in that. And last but certainly not least, both of these inspections, we successfully got through them, even through the challenges. One was obviously the airfield compliance, you know, so that check there, that determines if you're going to get your operating certificate. Airports every year are either issue your operating license or you're not. They identify issues, you have to address the issues. They come in, you work through it, and you either pass or fail. Successful with ours. We also have a similar system with our automated weather observation system. So that's kind of like our weatherman or woman. So that gives aircraft operators real-time information about the current atmospheric conditions at the airport. It's probably better than your local weather folks, but it's a tool that is required for us. So every year the FAA will come in and make sure that tool is operating. So good year so far, you know, even with the challenges, you know, the team and I really kept things moving. Next. So coming up, so some of the projects we started today will carry over to next year or the upcoming year. Fortunately, working with finance, you know, we are ahead of this game with the budget cycle. So, you know, we have projects here that are primarily grant projects, well, all of them are grant funded projects, which is a good thing for the airport. However, there are a couple of projects on this list here I think it's really worth bringing to your attention because it's critical for us. One deals with, you know, operation, well, a couple deal with operation specific. The other deals with more of the business development, revenue generation side of the house. So the two that's dealing with operation are dealing with the tree obstructions on each approach end of the airport. You know, you look at the airport, the imaginary lines. We're in a rural area, the airport's back 40 over there, and the pine trees have gotten too high. So FDOT, FAA say, hey, come in, clean them off so the pilots can operate a little bit more safer. We have dollars for that, and we've initiated this project, but this is going to carry over because it's a fairly large project. The second operational project, and got some BD or revenues to it, but it's a little bit longer term, is initiating the airport master plan update. So this is a requirement that takes place every 10 years or so. We're a little bit behind with ours, but this is our roadmap. You know, if anyone ever asks you what's the plan for the airport, you can take this one map here and you can look at where are we looking for this to be 10 years down the road. The unique piece about this particular project here is this year they're requiring a little bit more detail about what are you working with in terms of your hazards. So they're looking at it from a 3D standpoint. It's not just your airspace, It's not just the surface, but it's also underground. So we have funding secured for that, and we've initiated this project. It also includes updating the airport property map. So that property map is our official footprint for the FAA as well as FDOT. Okay. If that property map doesn't match what they have, that's an issue. So we want to make sure that we are in compliance with them. Last but certainly not least on this particular list here, the jet center design. So, we secured dollars for this. Some people blame inflation. I guess I'm gonna do the same thing. Things have changed. We need to really gather some more dollars. But this particular project is a signature project that's going to allow us to accommodate more non-base operators. It also will allow us to accommodate jet operators that come in, they're going to stay overnight. They don't want the $5 million jet sitting on the ramp. We can push it in, charge them, $300 a night, and they'll come in and get in a nice, cool aircraft the next day, So that's a revenue generator, and that's also a grant project. So we're trying to go grant project only for that. So, these are things really taking it to another level because that's the kind of customer we're using and looking for and targeting. Next. So our approach in light of our struggles is to approach this year with the same budget we had last year. Okay. I think the timing of this is smart. I think it's perfect because we've been running about 5 months or so with the tanks being online. For the next 5 months to 4 months is going to help us to really become stabilized. And by the time we hit first day of fiscal year, we should be primed very well in terms of activity, marketing plans being in place. So I would prefer, and it's my recommendation to you guys, let's go flat. Last year's budget was fine. Last year, I was able to get the supporting staff that I needed. And the next slide will show you the staffing component of this will not change a whole lot as well. Next. So no change in personnel. The team that I have in place, I'll come into this year with, we got one vacancy. We're trying to kind of slow walk that because we have a space issue also in the terminal building. So, we are, and we're hoping to get there. But, it's something that we just got to work through. One unique component to the airport enterprise fund is we have you can look at it as a huge yard. Okay. It's a huge lawn service requirement, specialty cuts, those kind of things for airfield lighting, inside the fence as well as outside. We have a really good contract in place. If I had to replace the equipment and the labor for that, there's no way that I could afford it, nor could the airport make any money for its operating costs. So, we do have that third party that's providing that service. That comes into the next year, whether we put it out there or we extend it. It really doesn't matter as long as we keep it in that structure. Next. Capital budget is going to be a little bit different today, okay? Because some of the projects we've already accomplished in this fiscal year. Some of the other projects, tree obstructions, master plan, that's going to carry those capital dollars over into the next fiscal year. So that is today a reduction of capital dollars. Next. All right.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. McNair?
Oh, thanks for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Presentation.
Yeah.
Clean and clear.
Well, I will welcome all of you guys out. Don't come out all together. Just come out one at a time. But
We don't come as a set.
okay, yeah. Don't do that. But it's really worth coming out and getting schooled on what you guys have here as a community. I meet some people, they don't even realize you have an airport, and that's sad. But we're there to help. I'm here to help. And no questions, just come out and see us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
On to the water treatment plan, Sean.
Commissioners, Mayor, City Manager. All right, water treatment budget 24-25. Achievements. So far, we've actually got a lot accomplished this year. Starting new as your new superintendent, we kind of walked in a little blind to it. But we did get to do chlorine injection approved, and that's already installed, waiting to go. We rehabbed all the new generator hookups out at the wells, so when we have a storm, we can actually keep them wells running. We replaced a lot of the pumps and upgraded all the electrical on well 2, so we can actually move more water now in case of fires and other issues. We rehabbed the high service pump 2 and motor, so they're up and running at peak performance now. Last year's capital item was the compressor room. We're gonna change that into a second office. Presently, we didn't need a second office anymore, I didn't feel, so we just saved a lot of money and turned it into a storage room. But all these new parts we're gonna have for this GAC system, there's a lot to come. We put the dollars where we needed it instead. As well as that, we did purchase a new lawnmower this year, so we can cut our grass and keep the wells looking good finally in the elevated tank. We did have to purchase 2 new computers for SCADA. Ours were old and had failed. So that cost us a little penny there as well. I had to hire, and I'm training 4 new employees, all operators. Right now, we have no licenses besides me and one other gentleman. So our hiring budget got hit a little bit this year because we had to take in a few. We have internet and Wi-Fi installed through all the buildings now, so we don't have to have a computer here, a computer there, a computer there. Everybody can just walk around, swipe, and it's done now. Next. Goals coming up. It looks like SCADA is actually going to be done hopefully within the next 2 weeks, so it's not going to make it to next budget year, which is even better, thank God. GAC hopefully will be done next year and online. Now our water will be nice and clean and smell better and look better, more polished, if you will. We're doing a full rehab of well 8 to get it up to peak performance. Yes, sir.
What's your GAC? Some of the acronyms?
The granulated activated carbon, the new filter systems. I'm sorry. SCADA. Supervisory. Oh, geez, now you put me on this.
Computer-
Control and data acquisition.
There you go.
Let me see where did I leave off. Servicing of the elevated tank, that has to be done. We are under contract for that. It hasn't been done in a while. And that is a larger hit to us. Rehab of the 2 feed pumps and motors is coming up to keep them up to date, so we don't have to completely replace them. We can just rehab them, save ourselves some money there. We do have to replace this year the VFDs, get rid of all that dirty power. That's costing us. And I'd like to paint the building and all the facilities this year. We're looking a little shaggy over there, and we could use a nice little touch up. VFD. Variable frequency drive.
So what does that look like from a cost standpoint, replacement of those variable frequency drives?
Depending on the size of them, they run between $5,000 to $8,000 a piece. And right now I'd be looking at changing anywhere between 4 to 8 or 9.
And how many do you have total? I mean, that in your whole suite of
I
drives,
have
you need to
about 14.
14.
14.
You got some work.
That's some work right there. But we got a lot of them working really well, and some of them are just older, and it's that time for them to go. We did upgrade some last year, and I believe they were upgraded the year before. So our electric bill's gotten better,
Right.
and I'd like to make it go even further.
So question on, because when you're struggling trying to maintain and hold on to old equipment, it's costing you a heck of a lot more money. So you're taking good money and you're just wasting that sunk cost. So look at what your costs are and let's see if we can figure something out as it relates to your electrical stuff. I mean, because we want to save dollars that make sense.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We can do that. Next, please. All right, our operating budget currently is 577. The proposed is 716,460. The reason for that is with the new system coming online, we have a lot more to do with it. There's a lot more stuff that has to be done, such as testing. We're gonna have to run a lot more tests on the water. We have more parameters to check now with the new standards and regulations. Electricity, we did put a bump. I don't know what the electricity is gonna be yet. The plant hasn't run full capacity in over a year, so 2 years. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a guesstimate to you. I'd rather hopefully have a little bit too much and then have to dig around and try to find money from you guys. Building maintenance, 20 to 25,000. Our building's taking a hit. We got a lot of corrosion there. It's nature of the beast. You know, we just gotta fix it and stay on top of it and not let it get to be a major issue. Equipment maintenance, 75 to 100. Again, we have a lot more equipment. We gotta keep up on it. We can't let it go like it did before and had to build a whole new system. So small tools went from 2,000 to 4,000. I have to have the tools to work on this stuff. I mean, we just don't have it there yet. And chemicals and fertilizers is the biggest increase. It doubles. But this process now requires the double amount of chemical, where before we'd only dose it with chlorine once. Now we're going to hit it with sodium hypochlorite twice. Same chemical, but we do it at the beginning and the end. It helps grow that bacteria, those TTHMs that we want to get out of the water. And that's the best way to remove them. So we do take a hit on that. Personnel wise, oh, I'm sorry. We're pretty much fully staffed now. We have me as the superintendent. I do have one Class A operator left. I have a mechanic, 2 operator trainees and a mechanic trainee. We have 2 openings, one of the assistant, which I'm not currently trying to fill. There's not enough work to have to worry about that right now. And a 4th water operator, which I got to stick on because these trainees all have to be licensed. And we're banking that they're going to get it, but I always want to have a backup plan just in case we don't. Next, please. All right, capital budget. Currently 1524079, proposed 1316109. Out of that capital money already, we purchased a new riding tractor. We went ahead and replaced all 4 of the chemical feed pumps. We remodeled the air compressor room. The big changes coming into capital is the $100,000 for the new operating system, the SCADA system to run the plant. And there's a big note in here for the elevated, that's $330,000. But that is a push from last year. We already have it in the budget. But we didn't able to get it done this year because the plant's been down. If I take that offline, you guys are gonna get phone calls all day long, so. So it does look like it's a big jump on the decision units, but it's really not. It's just that one line is really boosting that number. And that is all I have for you.
Do you have any questions of Mr. Bruno?
Thank you.
Mr. Bell?
Great presentation. I would just like to add on that $100,000 for the SCADA item. I mean, obviously, that's a critical aspect of being able to operate the plant. And what you will get with that is a system that is now integrated with our IT that has backups that we have control over, and we don't have to worry about losing it if we get a lightning strike or some other type of catastrophe.
Absolutely.
What about the skid steer?
So
I'm sorry. I had actually pulled that one from it.
skid steer is what you,
Yes,
right? So there wasn't I'm sorry, did you want to speak to
yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Mhm.
After I looked at it, I only really need it one time a year when we do make the changeover. And the city does have one. So they've made it available to me to use whenever I need it. So instead of spending that money, we can just leave that there and go ahead.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you. All set. We'll move on to the reclamation facility. Mr. McCann?
Good afternoon, Commission, City Manager. As y'all are aware, this is my favorite part of my job is public speaking. All right, so this is the budget for the reclamation facility. The things that we have accomplished, and I'm sorry I didn't bring my glasses, so I'll do the best I can to read this. We are nearing completion of the digester project we started a couple of years ago. There's been a lot of delays and a lot of challenges in keeping the facility in operation and meeting our demands of our permit. with the delays that we've experienced with this project. We spent a lot of time this year doing our best to keep this place in compliance without a working digester as designed. We are right at the point of getting them online and starting to put the bad things into them. We have also been working on the upgrades at lift station 16 at the corner of St. John's and Ziegler. The bar screen was completely refurbished and reinstalled this year. That's been in place for a couple of years. I'm sorry, a couple of months. The change is astronomical. The amount of debris we're removing from the treatment process with this new bar screen is awesome. It's night and day difference. We've also replaced both of our RAS pumps, which is return activated sludge. We replaced the pumps, the motors, the base plates, and the concrete structures that supported those. These have been in place for close to 40 years, and it was way past it was time to replace them. As far as staffing levels, we are short one mechanic. We do have some applications in and looking for doing some interviews next week.
Excuse me? Okay.
Okay, so with the digester project, we've had to, the challenge that we had was digesting our solids without a digester. So we converted a thickener tank that we wasn't using no more into a digester, which involved putting a blower and diffusers and air pipes to create a digester to digest the sludge properly and meet the treatment requirements through that DEP put on us. With that has kept us in our permit restrictions requirements. We also started the process of cleaning out our drying beds, replacing the sand. Drying beds are used when your belt press has issues, you dump this biosolids into a drying bed, it dries. We physically shovel it out and haul it to the landfill. Over time, the sand needs to be replaced. We did train several new operators and maintenance staff. They are doing a great job. I can't speak more for the job that these guys are doing, especially with the aerator. It's a lot of hard physical work and the heat, and they was all troopers in getting this job accomplished. We are in a waiting period for our control panel for the main plant generator. We have ordered that a couple of months ago. It was a 3 to 4 month lead time for the C panel to come in to upgrade that portion of our generator for the main plant. That was part of one of our capital projects from this year. We are also in the process of replacing one of our service trucks. I should be able to bring it to you the budget this commission meeting last night, but I missed a step, so I will try to bring it to you next month. We also assisted several construction crews or projects around the city as far as manhole relinings or lines work being done on St. John's Avenue with the removing the water lines and the wastewater lines. Our permit is up for renewal next year. So I've also been working with the engineers and the special sampling that's needed to facilitate getting our permit renewed for another 5 years. Next slide, please. So with next year, we're hoping to hopefully finally complete the digester project and get everything online, which would include a new digester, new belt press, new conveyor. And then provide training for all of our guys for the new processes that we have. The new digester is aerobic. Our old pattern was anaerobic, which is a big change in operations. They have been taking classes and going to school to learn this process. So hopefully it's going to be a smooth transition in the process change of the plant. We want to get some of these new operators trained up and have their license from the state. We are working with grant program to purchase more generators for some more lift stations. We did some a couple of years ago. We put generators at 6 lift stations. It's been great during inclement weather. It's really helped us. It's time to do some more. Complete replacing the sand and drying beds. With the new bar screen, it behooves us to clean out the rest of the plant from the debris that was stacked up when the bar screen wasn't working properly. We cleaned one aerator out, got it back online here a couple of weeks ago. It's working great. And the amount of debris we've seen in there proves to the point that we do need to clean this plant out. And this debris is not coming in no longer with this new bar screen. So we have one done. We're gonna work on doing the other one next. Including that, we are looking for the next big project, which would be the headworks of the plant and the secondary clarifiers. Again, our plant is going close to 40 years old. And these are parts that have not had major work done to them. Concrete structures, the grid equipment, which is for sand removal. It's just time to start thinking about replacing that equipment. Additionally is replacing the existing irrigation system at the airport. It's been in place for several years now. It's between mowing and strikes and the ground. It's time to replace that system, which is going to be in the capital projects for next year's budget. We had slated to upgrade Francis Lift Station and Winn-Dixie Lift Station this year in capital. With the struggles we've had with the Dodgers project, we were not able to accomplish that. So that is part of the money in capital we're pushing forward to next year to get those lift stations upgraded. We have a third pump for River Street. It has been ordered. It is, again, another long lead time. This is the main lift station for the city of Palatka. It's located on River Street. The two pumps we have there are working fine. It's just if one has to go out for service, that leaves us one working pump, and that's a scary position to be in, especially with the anticipated highly active hurricane season this year. I did not want to be in a position of only having one pump over there and something happened to it. Then of course our effluent filters. It's time to replace all of our filter panels on those filters. There are, I don't know, maybe 70 filter panels on each filter, and this is what it's the last stage of treatment before it goes to chlorination. So we're looking to replace all of those and get those back to top notch. Next slide, please. Current operating budget is $758,532. We're proposing a small increase, 824. And those increases are mainly due to chemical price increases. Chlorine goes up on a regular basis. Every 3 months, they increase their prices. The good news is they did go down 1 quarter last year before it went back up. Increasing equipment maintenance to our equipment is getting 40 years old. We're spending more time fixing things and replacing things to get them back up to current in today's world with new motors, more efficient for electricity usage. Our lab fees have gone up numerous times. It's something we can't live without. We have to send our samples off 5 days a week. And a small lab fee increase of $5 a sample is a lot of money throughout the whole year when you're doing so many samples. And we're going to anticipate an increase in electricity due to our new blowers in operation. The new blowers are for the new digesters. Going to aerobic, they have to have air to treat the biosolids. So those blowers will be having additional electricity costs that I'm not exactly sure what that's going to be to the end of the year. Next slide, please. This is our current situation as far as personnel. We are fully staffed except for one mechanic. I don't anticipate trying to increase the staff next year. Just want to get that one last mechanic hired and trained and get back to work. Next. This is our capital budget. For us, I think y'all was told last year, we go up and down. There's years that we have a lot of grant money projects that keep us going. We don't ask for much in capital. And other years we have to increase our capital request. We have been doing a digester project for a couple of years now, and it was a $4.4 million project. I'm asking now to spend some money at the reuse station at the golf course. We have 2 pump stations over there. They're both in need of work, replacing the control panels for both. The golf course irrigation itself needs a whole new pump station. It's been repaired over and over again. It's just not economically feasible to keep pumping money into repairs. It's just time to replace. So we can provide good water for the golf course, which is doing great things. Y'all worked really hard to turn that place around. and we would hate to be the cause of it going backwards. So I would like to get that station replaced. It gives us a lot of controls over the irrigation system, quicker response time for when things are wrong. Same thing with the city's irrigation. Side of that, the the pumps are good, the control panels not. Getting that replaced would give us better control and better control of our irrigation for reclaimed. The third part of that is replacing irrigation lines at the airport. That's a $55,000 cost. The lines get hit with lawnmowers, sprinklers heads get cut off, lightning strikes. Numerous times they've been repaired. Again, it's just not, it's to the point we can't keep spending money repairs and patching. You patch this part blows out. You patch that, this part blows out. It's just time to replace that system. The lift station upgrade, pump station upgrades, like I mentioned before, was Kelly Smith and Francis Shortcut. That was capital money from this year. So that's not going to be a big hit for our budget. We are asking for money for monitoring equipment. These are Omni beacons. So what happens is when a station has an issue, it tells this system to give us a call. It calls my plant, it calls my assistant, and it calls myself to let us know there's an alarm condition at this lift station, which speeds up our response time so we don't get many sanitary sewer spills. We're able to respond before it gets to the point of spilling out of the lift station onto the ground. These are not that much money, and they work really good. They have different inputs and outputs to tell us whether we have an alarm condition on a lag float or a second pump is running or a power issue. It's a very good tool to increase our response time for lift station issues. And then I'd like to have some money for replacing the VFDs, variable speed drives, for our current blowers for aeration. The ones we have are a little dated. There's a heat environment and they wear down in this heat. We've had an incredible summer last year and this year as well. And the components just tend to break down over time in heat and vibration. I think it's going to be more economically feasible for us to replace those VFDs instead of waiting for a failure and then repairs. Next, please. I think that's it. That's my presentation. I'm welcome to hear any questions that you may have.
Right, I mean, sound like you have quite a few challenges in terms of aged equipment. So do you have like a list of all of your things with some priorities as it relates to if these things happen, how does it impact maybe the environment or whatever else it may be, or public health safety kind of thing? Because we want to make sure that some of the, for business continuity, I think all of those things will be super important if you have that, if you want to share that, so we can kind of understand and know what we're potentially looking at if it's not budgeted, in the potential for, and then whatever priority you want to put around the areas that you're trying to do and accomplish.
So those that do not know, my middle name is Redundancy. I preach redundancy on a regular basis. This is why I'm asking for the third pump at River Street. We've lived 30 years without one over there. I feel it would be better for the city to have that pump over there. So this is the things that I do, is to create a situation where if a pump's offline, we still have two.
Yep.
One for service and one for backup in case there is another problem. Replacing the control panels for the generators at the main plant is another thing that we're doing to offset potential problems that are coming up. We have a very good plan in place and contingencies in place for any failure. If a digester fails, or I'm sorry, if a lift station fails, we have bypass pumps, we have generators to haul out there. We're asking for beacons to respond quicker to those situations. We have plenty of generators and equipment on hand to go out and pump these stations down. At the plant itself, we always have capability of, if we have two aerators. If there's a problem with one, we drain it, shut it off, we have the other one, which is how that's how we clean the other one out. And the plan is to clean the other one out, and these two would be back to full service, like brand new. So we go through a process of maintaining our equipment. We drain our tanks, we clean our tanks and repair equipment. The aerator, the baffles, I have pictures I can show you. The baffles were pitted from rot and deterioration. I put new panels up. I had new panels installed. Had the welders come out, cut them, drill holes, and we installed those. We are very proactive in looking for issues that may arise because I don't like being behind the eight ball. I take pride in not having many sewer spills in my career with the city. I'm not going to say none, just not many.
Right,
And I pride myself with that. And it's because of diligence of myself and my crew
right.
that keeps this happening for you guys. I can't speak enough of the work that my crew does for me. They are the ones that are out there in the middle of the night when they get a phone call, 2 o'clock in the morning. They're the ones that are losing sleep. If something happens, emergency arises, they are all Johnny on the spot to want to work to correct this before they go home. It's a testament of these guys. It really is on keeping your city nice and clean. I can't speak enough about them. I can't do nothing that I do without the crew I have. We try to train. We try to talk on a regular basis. Scenarios. This is what's going to happen when the rain comes. This is what's going to happen when a storm comes. If trees fall, this is the next step. This is the plan that we're going to take to fix this. We are in constant communication with our guys to express to them what's going to happen if this scenario occurs and what we have to do to correct that.
Certainly appreciate that. Sounds like a good strategy.
Again, I don't like being under the eight ball. When you're wearing wastewater, you don't want mistakes. The mistakes means you get bad stuff on you.
Yes, sir.
So we're very diligent to make sure that doesn't happen.
And we thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very much.
very much so.
Mr. Bell, do you?
Sure. I just wanted to add that I got a chance to visit the Riverfront station. And if you ever have an opportunity to take a look at that, it's a critical station for the system. And having those two pumps functional and one backup, make sure that we have a contingency in place. And the massive amount of work that those pumps do it's phenomenal. So it was a pleasure. And I thank Mr. McCann and the department for giving me that tour and allowing me to see what they're doing with their bare hands in many respects.
Thank you.
Well, we
Thank
need to
you.
get them equipment. No, not with the bare hands.
Well, that's it.
We got to get them the right tools to do the
And-
job.
And that was part of the conversation.
We have it. We have safety equipment. We have gloves. We have uniforms. We have coveralls.
These are good.
I will say that sometimes the equipment is a hindrance when you're working with some of this equipment. And my
Right.
guys are great that they're not going to refuse to do a job just because they're going to get dirty.
Yes, safety first.
Yes, we always safety first.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Krantz?
He's tall. I gotta bring this down. It's another wonderful sunny day in Palatka.
Sunny day.
Wanted to go over some of my achievements, real briefly. As you know, my goal from this past year for this year was to stay on top of everything. And I have continued to do my best to stay on top of everything. We've had 22 city commission meetings and workshops, 7 CRA meetings, 3 airport advisory board meetings, 10 historic preservation board meetings, 7 planning board meetings. And all that to say, in the meanwhile, I've been trying to cross-train some of the admin assistants from some of the other departments so that if I'm ever unavailable, hopefully they can kind of step into my shoes and try to help out. So kudos to those admin assistants in the planning and the airport departments. Of course, miscellaneous other stuff. Of course, we have a bunch of other smaller boards that meet maybe once or twice a year. So, all right, process 34 ordinances. So good job, guys, because that's y'all. 202 resolutions, 122 contracts and change orders. We've brought on a new position in my department, the customer service records clerk, Miss Kiera. We've migrated to a new agenda software that you guys let me bring on this year. So I'm so happy that we were able to roll that out for our citizens. I'm hearing a lot of good feedback from the citizens that it's more user friendly. So, and it's kind of helped Miss West with some of her public records requests that information's all at their fingertips going back this entire year. I would mention that there is a board portal portion of that software, and I would love to give you individual demonstrations if you're ever interested in that.
Be interested.
And the city has allowed me to mentor some of the great youth here in our city. I've continued to be the coordinator of the city's Youth Ambassadors Program, which will kick off another year here soon in August or early September. You've allowed me to facilitate Student of the Month, which has been awesome. I always enjoy doing those. And this year I was assigned 2 interns for the summer instead of 1. So that was pretty nifty. All right, so department name, well, clerk. Okay, I've been telling everybody that they needed to fix that. I guess I didn't fix it. Oopsie. My goals remain the same from last year rolling into this year. Stay current with everything, number 1, because it's very, very easy when you have meetings back to back every day to get behind in your minutes. And I know some clerks, they may be watching, so I'm not gonna name any names, but I know some clerks that are behind 3 months, 4 months. And it's very, very easy to get behind in your minutes. Goal 2 is to work towards organization of historical city records. And guys, that is goal 2 rather than goal 1, because if I don't stay on top of the new stuff, it's going to become that mess of old stuff. So that's why my priority is to continue to maintain the new stuff coming in. All right, so operating budget, 31,587 is where we were operating. Proposed total 38,050. Some of the increases that you're going to see are in the decision units in front of you. As you may be aware, Muni Code is the folks that maintain our code of ordinances for us here at the city and our charter. They make it available to the citizens so that they can easily access it, and so staff can easily access it. I would like for the comprehensive plan to also be under Muni Code, so it's under that same ease of access that the citizens enjoy with our code of ordinances. We're getting a lot of public records requests for the comprehensive plan, and even amongst staff, it's kind of hard to get all the elements together and know which element was last updated when, because it spans a lot of the years here in the city. So you'll see that decision unit in front of you. And you may be wondering why it's in this department instead of the planning department, just because the Munico cost is paid out of my budget. So rather than making it messy for finance, let's just keep it all in the same budget. Contractual services, we did switch the agenda software, and as you all are aware, there is a 9% increase for that software per year. So that's living my budget. Personnel. I'm grateful that I've served the city for the last 4 years as your clerk. And y'all know about me, so I won't brag much, but I am a member of the Florida Association of City Clerks, and I'm a member of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. And last year I got my certification as a clerk, and this year, going into next year, I'm working on the Florida Certified Professional Clerk Program. I am one of the first 20 clerks in the state to be a part of that program. Thanks to the city for allowing me to participate. It's a great program, and I'm happy to be one of the guinea pigs of that first inaugural class. This year, we did bring on Miss Kiera Kaymore as the Customer Service and Records Clerk. She's going on her 5th month of service with the city. She's presently on a leave of absence, and we're looking forward to her returning to us shortly.
And
All right.
if I may, who is
Go ahead.
the lady that's filling in for her out there?
Yeah, the lady filling in with us is Pam Butler Hughes. Miss Pam, you may be a familiar face to some of you. She served last summer as a temporary person at Public Works, and she's back with us this summer in the clerk's office. So glad that she's a familiar face to some of you. And during the school year, she works in the school district, which is what allows her to be a temporary employee during the summer. And of course, we've maybe talked enough about the deputy clerk position. Any questions on personnel? All right, moving forward, the budget. Trying to think what is different between this and the other one. The only other decision unit that you really see in your budget is going to be for storage equipment. As we bring in folks and get the education of our staff up to actually properly organizing files and records, you also have the need to properly store them, which leads to needing shelves, needs to leading filing cabinets, things like that. So I did put in a decision unit if you guys would allow me to either buy some shelves or filing cabinets to help organize.
I think did you already have a plan, conceptual drawing for that at one point? Did you present that to us
Yes,
earlier?
last year you may remember we brought on a storage unit at a climate controlled facility that's owned by the St. Johns River State College. We've got shelves according to that plan there, and there's room for a few more shelves. If we want to put a few more shelves in there to kind of organize the older records from the 1800s that have to be in a climate controlled facility because they're very brittle, is why we moved them there. As far as records here, it's a slowly bite at the chunk, because as you destroy old records, there's constantly going to be new records that take their place. So that's kind of what we deal with here at City Hall.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. Krantz? No, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I will turn it over to Madam Attorney Jane West. Would you like the clicker or next slide?
I'll do the clicker.
Okay.
Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager. This is really small font, so I do apologize about that. As you know, I'm heading into my 1-year anniversary here as your first full-time in-house city attorney for the city of Palatka. And that basically gave me the opportunity, instead of being outside contract counsel, I basically kind of had a clean slate coming into the city, which is a great opportunity in terms of I can design programs to be the way that I like. But on the downside, there was a lot of work in terms of paper files dating back, quite frankly, decades that needed organization. So I'm proud to say that I have created on the OneDrive folder a legal file that is accessible to all the departments. I view my role as basically a crutch for every other department here in the city. And I'm happy to say that many people do reach out to me on a daily basis for assistance on whatever they might be dealing with, whether it's contract review or what have you. So we have now, thanks to the help with the summer interns, Annabelle in particular, have completely, fully digitalized the entire legal department. So that has been a huge undertaking because some of our class action lawsuits have been pending for years, and the pleadings on those, some of the pleadings, just one pleading alone can be, 8 to 10 inches thick. I've taken on the responsibilities of your RMLO, your Records Management Liaison Officer, reporting to the state of Florida on the disposition of records for the state. And there's a lot that I do for public records requests and managing all of that, and it's a lot. Let's see, where's the down button here? Okay, litigation. I love litigation. I love being in court. Haven't had enough of that since I've been here. I am currently overseeing about 18 cases, ranging from federal caseload to circuit court to even county court here in Putnam County. I have initiated numerous cases on my own, primarily foreclosure and abatement cases, to assist the Blight to Bright team in terms of making all those outstanding code enforcement liens, some of which are in excess of $400,000, actually come to fruition in terms of translating into money in the coffers for the city of Palatka. I'm proud to say that I have assisted in recovering a little over $75,000 for the city of Palatka. Some of the notable big ones were the over $40,000 final judgment, which was a default, by the way, against John's Metals. That was paid up. I'm also very proud of the fact that we've been able to identify and capitalize on a kind of a new untapped stream of revenue, which is the surplus proceeds from the tax sale deeds. According to the tax collector's office, we have not been filing notices of claims on those excess proceeds. So to date, I've been able to bring in over $17,000 just by making claims for those excess proceeds. we have been able to successfully defend with no liability, no financial liability on an interpleader action brought by the tax collector's office. And so that kind of wiped out our ability to make claims against this one particular institutional investor, Verona V, which owns over 1,400 properties in Putnam County. And let me just say that they are a very derelict, bad owner. And so we've been really trying to hit hard on recovering some of those liens. Finally able to take care of some loose ends on your outstanding City of Palatka versus Poseidon case, dealt with some quiet title issues. And I'm continuing to very aggressively make sure that we maintain our entitlement to those tax surplus proceeds on outstanding liens. Next. I don't know, it's not moving, Sonny. Legislative, I think you guys know, especially you, Commissioner Borum, my engagement on the lobbying efforts, and that is continuing on my previous stint as a lobbyist in Tallahassee and been able to capitalize on my connections with lawmakers there. Next. Kind of already touched on this, have really enjoyed working with Mr. Cutright over in code enforcement to be able to clean up the city. And if you take a little drive by 1700 Eagle, you'll see one of the abatement actions that I brought in circuit court resulted in demolition. And that was a huge win. That was a really bad piece of property with homeless people living in the carport. Next, please. Planning. We've had a lot of transition in the planning department. I have extensive experience with local government land use law. And so I've worked closely with the previous planning director and the current planning director to make sure some things don't fall through the cracks. We've had a lot of things come online within this past year in terms of impact fees, which is very complex in terms of statutory interpretation. So just making sure everything stays on the up and up and basically making sure we do not get sued. So it's my job. Next. It's just me, one full-time in-house city attorney. We did have a summer intern. He's going to continue, as I mentioned last night, continue for pro bono hours. I'm hoping that we can continue to capitalize on the fact that all these law students do have to fulfill a pro bono hour requirement. And we're very close to Gainesville. That has been a source of my interns for years and years now. I have good working relationships with the career service office over there and the professors. So hopefully we can continue to get a free source of legal interns there. Next, please. So you can see there's obviously been a significant change in the budget going from 2023 because you did not have full-time in-house to the 2024 budget and the proposed 24-25. I don't have any decision units for you guys. What I would like to do, much like the airport, is keep things just consistent right now. I want to see how things are going and, reassess a year from now. I haven't even been in the job for a full year. So I just want to keep it the same and then reevaluate next year when it comes up on the budget cycle. Next, please. And there you can see just the totals. We have worked in the expense of the intern because if we aren't able to secure pro bono hours, hopefully we can secure an intern and pay for it going forward. But that's really all I have. Any questions?
Ms. West? Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning, Mr. Agama.
Ready to say it again?
You need glasses.
Mr. Agama, can you pronounce your name, Commissioner Jones? We're working on that.
Yeah, again,
Agamo?
yes,
Agamo.
Italian name. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to start with the achievements for the department. And I have listed things here for this year because I've been, got employed by the city almost at the end of February. But anyway, this is what we have so far this year. We processed and reviewed 26 building permits. We had 27 preservation applications, 33 planning board cases. We reviewed 13 sign permits. We did about 42 zoning verification letters. And thus far in 2024, we just did a little calculation. We had 110 working days and we processed 141 files, which gives us an average of about 1.28 files per day. In 2023, that average was 0.65. So we basically doubled the production of the department in 2024. One of my goals when I first started working for the city was after reviewing our application forms and what we had in the webpage. One of my first goals was to update, review, rewrite a lot of the application form. So what we did was to reconfigure and rewrote about over 40 application forms. And we also replaced all the outdated forms that we have in the city website. So you can get any application form in our website, which is and a lot of the public are using that. We get a lot of application through the website. We also, I also modified the mission statement for the department that also is in the website. Since February of this year, the department collected over $370,000 in impact fees, and we expect that this year is going to go over $1 million. If we take just the fiscal year 23-24 since October to today, the department collected $911,707. We also generate fees. The department obviously collect fees, for the service that we provide. And as of March 31st, we collected almost $50,000 in building permit fees. And in the BTR, we collected about $20,000. The next, please. Our operating expenses remain basically the same, except for professional services, which we have filed an application with the state for a grant in the amount of $75,000. And basically that is to develop a GIS for the future land use map and the zoning. So we could be in control of our data in the GIS. As you know, we now depend on the appraiser's office and the county. And most of the time they're not accurate and creates a lot of problem because it's a disservice, to the residents of the city. And it makes it difficult, for staff sometimes, to rely on that information. So we hope that with that grant and with these operating expenses that is in our budget, to do that, the GIS, and also to start the update of the comprehensive plan. As you know, the visioning plan is coming to a conclusion probably at the end of August. And right after that, we're going to have to start initiating the process for the update to the comprehensive plan. So our operating budget really is the current total is $454,791, and the proposed total is $513,699. But this total includes $75,000 for a grant. So if we get the grant, our operating budget will be reduced to lower than this currently today. We'll go down to $438,000. Regarding the personnel, the current staffing for the department is the planning director position. We have one planner full-time position, one planner half-time position, which currently is vacant. And actually the planner position is also vacant as of today. And we had a planning clerk. Our proposed staffing is to continue having the director. And what I asking in this budget is that we take the part-time planner position and make it a full-time. So we ended up with two planners, the planning director, two planners full-time, and one planning clerk. Regarding the contract, we have an ongoing contract with the Northeast Planning Council, which is in charge of preparing the vision plan for Palatka. And we also have an ongoing returning contract with Terracon Consultants, and they do perform, inspection for stormwater for construction sites. We anticipate contractual services to update the comprehensive plan, like I mentioned to you before, and to do the GIS. We don't have any capital budget in our budget.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Agamo?
Yes, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
I'd like to see if I can get a legible copy. Couldn't really see it in the presentation, from the print. It's very, you can't really see it. It's super
Yeah.
faded. So, as well as the legal presentation, both of them were unlegible. You can't read it. It's very.
You want me to email it?
What, yeah, you can, but this is, it's just.
It's the gray font of the template.
Yeah, I think it has to be bold, actually, to read it better.
So to be quick, we hear a lot of people around the city and county, giving the city a bad name as it relates to processing permits and different things of that nature, saying that we're not efficient and different things of that nature. But I do know the city pride itself on working efficiently with the applicants among everything else. So again, I checked in with Wawa, and I also checked in with Longhorn when they did their grand opening. And all of their representatives said that there was no issues relating to being held up by the city with any of their permitting processes. In fact, they were ahead of schedule. So I just like to make sure that, whatever we have in terms of our process, I know there was a downtown individual made a comment about our process not being friendly, and they need to understand how it works. So I think from an educational standpoint, if we can just kind of show what our process looks like, and also from an educational standpoint, have that information available to these individuals. So when they make these claims, that we can kind of help refute that.
And I concur with.
I would like to, if possible.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, I would like to just kind of piggyback off of what Commissioner Bourne said. I think that's very much to our favor to highlight our process, but I think it's as we move forward as well, taking in consideration possibly getting testimonials from those individuals or companies that have come in and deemed that our process has not been, just so that we can, have that as well.
Thank you. And I just happened to call Hook, Line, and Sinker, the new restaurant at Crystal Cove, because they brought those free pizzas. We finally figured out it was them. And they were very complimentary. They were raving about Renee and the planning department, and thus brought the pizza. So again, they were more than willing to say something positive. So I think we need to capitalize on that.
I think maybe in the past, maybe it was complicated, the process, and maybe the response was not prompt, as a customer service for the applicant. And that was because it was just, they didn't have enough staff,
Right.
But since I got to the city, one of the first things that I did was, because our process is complicated because the building permit is issued by the county, and we have to review for zoning compliance. And that's what the public is a little bit confused.
That's why we say we need to educate the
Right.
public.
And we've been doing that, and we have put it in their website. There is explanation more or less what the processes are. And one of the first things that I did after I started working here was to have a meeting with the county, because there was not a lot of coordination, or I saw that we could improve the coordination. So we went to the county, and we had a meeting with them. And I can guarantee you that since then, our coordination with the county has been really, really, really good.
Right, and I recently heard it at a forum as well, a recent forum that they had, to keep putting the city and the county out there is, it's hard and difficult to work with. We're not open and amenable for people to come into our city. And so we gotta refute that. I mean,
Yeah.
we do our due diligence and make sure that we are welcoming people with
Absolutely.
open arms to our city, at least. I think.
Absolutely. It's important, developing is important for the city and we like to
So how
to
can-
help in that process. Absolutely.
Right, so if the commission is friendly to trying to at least, let's get those testimonials from those, I know the individuals I spoke to, I have their cards. So I think
follow up.
we need to get those testimonials from them, and that way we can at least.
Sure.
And put them even up on the
Yeah.
website. so people
Yeah.
see.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank
All right. Thank you.
Assistant Chief Newcomb? Good timing on Chief Shaw taking a vacation.
He's not he's not a dumb man, I'm gonna say that. So good afternoon or good evening, whatever we're gonna call it this today, but just like last night, today you guys are stuck with me. But our achievements, we had several, just like all the other departments, and we tried to just mention the ones that we were proud of. One being the promotional and organizational chart changes. One of which brought my promotion, so thank you for that. On top of multiple other supervisory promotions that were done throughout this year. So we were really busy this year between dealing with the shortages that we had, the promotional opportunities that we had, preparing line staff to be able to be line supervisors and some schoolings and things like that for them. So that was we felt that was one of our achievements for this year. We also are proud to say that in 2022, we had a reduction in crime, and then we had an additional 3.8% reduction in crime in 2023. Even though we've had all of these different violent crime related issues last year, we are still able to have a reduction. Staffing levels, just touched on this, but touch on it again. We work very diligently. We are 32 strong as I speak right now, which is our maximum number. The only position that we do have open is a civilian position, which is the police service aide. That is a combination of being a police service aide and the animal control officer. Our major crimes unit was able to utilize our new flock system, which is going into its second year, which are the license plate reader cameras that we have throughout the town. The detectives were able to solve quite a few of our homicides through the use of those cameras, as well as several other cases. In fact, yesterday, if you looked at the pass along that was sent out, we recovered a elderly gentleman that was dedicated as a silver alert in our community. And within 2 hours, we utilized the system, tracked him through our town into Clay County and into St. Johns County. And when he went over the bridge from Clay County into St. Johns was sitting on the other side of the bridge waiting on him. So those are good testimonials for that system. We invested into utilizing grant funding. We invested equipment into our investigative equipment, a new recording system in our interview room. It's called iRecord. It's a really good system, really good audio and visual video recording. We purchased some software for our victims advocate, which assists me in making my job easier because I manage the VOCA grant, and all of her numbers and everything she does goes into this program and then is immediately uploaded into the grant. So we're not sitting there, we're not just sitting there counting numbers. It's already there in the system. So it really, that's really helped us. And then this year, through 100% grant funding, we were able to secure $104,024 between some JAG funding, bulletproof grant vest, and the rural development grant that we had. We continue to work on our community relations through our Police Athletic League and then our department's community engagement program, which all of you guys have participated in some of our quarterly zone meetings or our Talking Tuesdays or Brain Freeze Fridays with the kids. And then, of course, we get invited to a lot of different meetings to attend throughout the community that Chief and I or Captain Williams or Captain Forsyth attend if Chief Rye are unavailable to do so. The 800 megahertz radio system is scheduled to go live at the end of July or the middle of August. That is a program that we are engaged with the county, but they are working out a few minor kinks right now. So we're hoping to go live at the end of August. And then the other thing that we find to be a big achievement is finally getting our roof repaired at the police department. So we're very thankful for that. Could you go to the next one? Oh, I'm sorry, Sonny.
Can I elaborate on the 800 megahertz radio, how they work and the significance of them? Please, so the folks that don't know.
Yes, ma'am. So the 800 megahertz radio system is a new radio system for all emergency services throughout the entire Putnam County, the entire county. And right now we're operating on the same radio system that we had when I got hired almost 30 years ago. So it's a VHF system. And if we go into Walmart, dispatch cannot hear us. If I go into your office, dispatch can't hear me if I call out on the radio. Matter of fact, the last time you and I were together, I had to walk outside for them to hear me on the radio. With this 800 megahertz system, during the testing phase, with the system not being fully live yet, we took one radio, a portable radio, had it at the police department, and took another portable radio and went to the X-ray area of the hospital and could hear just by portable radios, the handheld radios could hear it loud and clear. So it's very important for public safety.
As well as active assailants in schools.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
they come in.
It's just as important for our community because if I come in here, Chief Taylor comes in here on a medical emergency and dispatch can't hear me say that the person's not alert, they're not conscious, this is what the symptoms appear to be, then they're not able to relate a rescue as rescues coming in, what the problem could be. So the radios are very, very important. Did you, how do you change this?
It hasn't working for me.
I'm sorry. Okay, got it. So notable operational changes, again, our staffing levels, we work diligently to get our staffing levels where they are. Our promotional process that we went through and the realignment of our charts, the Victims Advocate software. But then goals for this year is we're going to continue to work on our community engagement. We're pretty excited and hope that we get the staffing study done through UNF. Chief and I met with the professors that will actually do it, and it's extremely in depth. There's community surveys that have to be done. They don't just look at calls for service. They look at, do we have a homeless population issue? Do we have a mental health issue? And if you guys see our pass-alongs every morning, you see we do a lot with Baker Acts and a lot with mental health calls.
Right.
So, and those are very time consuming. So that stuff is taken into account for this. So that staffing study could really be beneficial to the city as a whole for future planning. We're also, with y'all's approval and us going forward, we've applied for the COPS grant for those 4 positions. So that's one of our goals. And then the other one is, again, continuing to find ways to reduce crime through developments of programs and policing, and then building community trust. So for our operating budget, our current operating budget is $505,755.13. And our proposed budget is going to be $525,164.56. And that is due to some increasing costs for us for our body camera program. Oh, did I skip something?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Part of that is I'm sorry? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Part of that is because part of the increase is because of our body camera program. We had to get more terabytes for the server system for that to hold our recordings. And then the other part of the increase is our flock camera program. We are ending year 2 of the grant that we had for that, and the increase of 15,000 is for that. And then we had a decrease in fuel expenses at 18,000, but that was basically a line transfer. We transferred money from gas from what we've dealt with for this year, and then increased our vehicle maintenance line out of anticipation of some things for the police union contractual things. And then we had an increase in membership subscriptions of $650 for our download. I'm sorry. Oh, there goes. For our accreditation stuff. This is the new organizational chart. Chief wanted that to be a part of our presentation for tonight. Spoke came from, but it's all over me.
Yeah, it loves you.
It likes me. I don't know why. It must be the aftershave. I don't know.
Could you go back to the organizational chart? Sonny, can you
Yes, sir.
get rid of that caption? That aggravated.
If I click on something else and he can't click on the slidey thingy, so I'm trying to minimize my clicks.
Now we're gonna go back again though.
You want the organizational chart?
Yeah.
Please.
There we go. So every one of our positions that is up here right now, excluding this animal control position, is filled. So all of the law enforcement positions are filled. Looking at that, if you see on the far left side, our street crimes detectives positions, their pictures are not on the board just because they do a lot of surveillance work and undercover work. But those positions are active.
I think we all like the org charts. I'm a visual person and it's very helpful to me.
So the reserve
Yeah.
program is not.
And if I
Notes
may,
too.
yes, ma'am. If I may, Madam Mayor, that's what I've been asking for, and we had that at one point during my one-on-one. And I think it's significant that we have these as we go along to help with our conversations and decisions.
So one thing, and Mr. Bell just noticed this, and when we proofed it, we didn't even realize it, or I didn't realize it, but our reserve officer program is not up there. And that actually falls under special operations, which is Captain Forsyth's section. So where that says CST and volunteers, volunteers should have a box below that that would say our reserve officer program.
On the volunteer.
Yes, sir. So we'll get that fixed when Chief gets back next week. Any questions on that one?
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
So our personnel, again, we are at 32, and that includes one PSA, and we have the one PSA position that's available. But our proposed staffing levels will go up to 36, and that's because of the COPS grant that we've applied for those 4 positions. Everything else will remain the same. And that grant is a 75-25 split. Our current capital budget is $71,680. And our proposed capital budget is $147,500. And those are all under our, I'm sorry, I forgot what we're calling the discussion decision. Thank you, decision units. And that's for the $75,000 for the UNF study, $30,000 for the ranged bathroom. We were looking at doing a standalone bathroom out at the gun range. But when we started paying attention to the numbers of what the bathroom is going to cost at the parks, we decided that that was way too much. And we were going to build a bathroom into the existing building that we have out there that does not have a bathroom. $15,000 for the parking lot paving, 17,500 to replace the flooring at the police department, and then $10,000 to set up electricity out at the 4-bay garage that's in the back of the police department.
You happen to, fire department with the parking lot paving?
Are you guys doing that, Chief Taylor?
Okay.
We're probably gonna have to talk about that because it's because of their trucks that go up and down, you know what I'm saying? We are looking at some additional vehicle purchases this year, and the budget for that would be $580,755. But the amount of money would be $353,985.34 to go along with the USDA funding that we got, which is $250,000.
So that's the 580.
Yes, sir. Those two equal to the 580. Yes, sir. And then that's all I have.
Thank you. Questions?
I do have one question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said 32 strong.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain that, because what do I do not count on the org chart? Because I think I may have counted 42, but
We should.
Sworn officers.
Sworn officers. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I got.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So much.
Yeah, that doesn't include our
yes,
part-time
sir.
civilian employees or our full-time civilian employees.
And that's the max. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
One question, I got one question, does our budget reflect, a lot of the things that come up, like, Assistant Chief was, mentioning about the mental health? I mean, you said we got a position in there for that this year?
For mental health, no, sir. That's just the mental health is a part of the staff study that UNF would do. So UNF evaluates all of those other things that we deal with. They'll do a community survey. They will do a survey with the employees. I'm sorry, with the employees at the police department. There'll probably be, if I'm accurate, a survey for the commission and the city manager to do. There's a bunch of interviews that they will do. It's not just based on numbers as far as employees compared to numbers of calls for service compared to hours worked like it used to be. It's extremely in depth.
That's just for the employees, but I'm talking about, like, when we see the telemetry come in from your reports, and we certainly thank you guys for those continued reports we get, because it kind of helps with to tell the story of needs or what have you. And I see a lot of mental, where you say you having the Baker Act
Baker
people,
Acts, yes, sir.
and then the costs associated with taking these people to transporting the individuals over to Gainesville or St. Augustine or wherever. You know, that's huge. So if we can keep that local here, and maybe also have a position that deals with being able to connect with these people, with the mentally ill people, because not all officers are really trained to deal with mental illness.
So with the Florida Baker Act, we have to transport someone to a mental health facility, and not every hospital is deemed a mental health facility.
Right, and what I'm saying, the engagement piece.
Oh, yes, sir.
You know,
Oh,
it's
yes, sir.
Because, a lot of times, they can go from 0 to 100 or whatever. And a lot of times when we used to have issues where they didn't know how to de-escalate the situation, or know the state of health that that person in, the state of mind that person is in, whenever a call came in from the community that there was a issue.
Yes,
And they
sir.
didn't know that some of the people had any mental illnesses. And so we used to have some different kind of results that came out of that, because the officers didn't know how to deal with those situations. I'll let Commissioner, but then we got, I'm gonna move on to the dog bites. All the dog bites that we see as it relates to that. And I know around the state, and we've been having a lot of animal bites.
Mhm.
We see that, and so we certainly need to try and do something along those lines within the budget to try to help in those regards, whatever we could potentially do as it relates to that, because we don't have animal control per se. We haven't had it for a
Yes,
little
sir.
over,
It's in our-
at least a position filled. We got
Right.
we have it funded, but we don't
Yes.
have it filled.
Yes, sir.
And
We're
so-
hoping that the new animal
Facility.
control shelter will help with that.
Correct.
Once it gets open.
Which hopefully should be soon.
So-
Oh, sorry.
If we can make sure that the budget reflect the help in those areas, because we see the numbers up. And the other thing was the weed and seed, and I talked to Mr. Cutright the other day about that and how we can help in areas that present repeat calls for service and putting programs in that aid with some of those different things as it relates to that. So programming something like the weed and seed, which we got a number of different things I think they already have, but we're missing a few components, and anything that we can do to reflect in that area, I think we want to try to help in that regard as well.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't mention about your smart cards. You just put that in like was it last year or year before last?
Yeah, actually, I think we'd have to double check, but I know that we did something with it last year, and I think we ended up having to do a little something this year.
Okay.
And that was because the server at the sheriff's office had to be upgraded. And with our MOU that we have, all of the municipalities have a little piece of
Unique.
that pie.
Okay.
To help them with the cost, because we share one large server.
Right.
For the reports, that's at the sheriff, it's actually housed at the sheriff's
Okay.
office. So we VPN to that system.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a question about when you all have Baker ads.
Yes,
Kind
ma'am.
of like when you have someone that comes in and a negotiator when certain things happen. In the Baker Act situation, do you all have a person that's trained that comes on the scene, or is it that you all get trained yourselves as officers?
So the officers receive training.
Yes,
The
sir.
de-escalation training, and then the observation training and everything at the academy level.
Okay.
And then they receive additional training. We do additional annual training every year on that.
Good.
But it's all based on the state statute of what we have to do and what we can do.
Mhm.
And if someone makes a threat and the threat is deemed to be credible to hurt you or to hurt me or to hurt themselves, and they're not taking care of themselves, then we have to take them into custody for the Baker Act.
Yes.
And then by law, we have to transport them to the nearest receiving facility. And for us, it's UF St. John's now. It used to be Flagler and St. Augustine. And then if it's a juvenile, we have to take them all the way to Halifax,
That's right.
which is in Daytona.
Yeah.
So you're talking a solid 2.5 hour drive time there and back.
It's one of the outcomes perhaps of the UF study to see if in fact we do need more resources in that area.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So what can you?
No, that's good. Stay on that so you can ask that question.
Whatever we can do, to be able to kind of help in those regards, because they're taking, an officer having to,
Go to Daytona.
how many ever hours to take care of that situation multiple times. You see the reports as they come in. So, whatever we can do to kind of help in that regard, just kind of let us know.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And
Thank
also
you.
with the weed and seed, I think that Mr. Reno Fells is very savvy in that. And yeah, so I think we're a cut ahead on that process too. Thank you. That's it.
You guys still running the weed and seed?
No,
I
sir.
think that's what he was saying.
No, sir.
bringing
No, sir. It would
bringing
be
back in.
a new program, a
Yeah.
new weed and seed program.
And
Go ahead.
one other thing in the increase in the operating budget that was noted during the one-on-ones is the bicycle program. Reinvigorating that program is included as part of the expenditures and the increase of that. So I know that was one of the things that several of the commissioners asked about.
And that's actually I was on the bike unit for a few years.
Yeah.
A long time ago. When we had a full-time unit, and the amount of interaction that you have with the community is amazing. So it's a big plus if once we get some of these young men and women in training, out of training and on the road, we're going to implement the bikes and get that rolling again.
One of the reasons I'm partial to it, because that's what I did.
It's fine.
So, as things evolve, and I know you guys are real seasoned up at the top. I would like to see some of your younger guys start, participating with the PAL program. I know Toby is like a fixture, but succession planning, it's important. And there's some young guys you guys have, and then I think it'll be beneficial to rotate some of those guys
Absolutely.
in that program. Because one thing to do is expand it where you got younger people that's gonna attract. Younger people.
Absolutely.
And I'm just being honest with you, you need to diversify as well.
Yeah.
It needs to be. I would love to see that. That's important, I think, to kind of broaden the horizons of what PAL is all about.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense. Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Bell.
I know you had alluded to the length of this program and the fact that we had divided it into two previously. So this might be a good point at which we can segue to a subsequent meeting, if that's the pleasure.
We're all in favor of that since we were up late last night.
Yes.
So, so with that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.